It's 1996, grunge is fading, nu metal is on the horizon, and in the shadows of Brooklyn, a band known for their towering frontman and jet black humor is about to change the face of gothic metal forever. Type O Negative, once fueled by rage and heartbreak, now stands at a crossroads, haunted by their past, seduced by new sounds, and on the verge of releasing an album that will redefine their legacy. Because you guys requested it, we're going to take a look at the album October Rust. A record born from chaos, humor, and a relentless desire to gamble everything for a shot at immortality. Before we get started, be sure to hit the bell notification icon and put all notifications on. I hear from a lot of my subscribers that they don't even get notifications when I post my videos. I would greatly appreciate if you guys did that. Before October Rust, Type O Negative was a band that ran on pure rage. Their first album, 1991's Slow, Deep, and Hard, was a raw look into frontman Peter Steele's darkest thoughts and the intense pain of lost love. They got their first taste of success with 1993's Bloody Kisses, which ended up going platinum and showed the world their unique mix of gothic doom and sarcastic humor. That album gave us a peek at their more romantic side, but it was still connected to Steele's aggressive past with his thrash band Carnivore. But beneath the darkness was also humor, and while many of the band's songs dealt with pagan or sexual themes, keyboardist and producer Josh Silver clarified that the band wasn't necessarily promoting those ideas. He added that their lyrics are about human emotions, and sex is of course a significant aspect of that. Silver also added they often recorded in the studio while drunk, and sometimes the mistakes they make end up sounding even better. Steele, meanwhile, admitted to being obsessed with what he calls the foundation of tones, revealing, "I've always analyzed music from a psychological point of view, like why does this passage invoke such sadness? Pick everything apart and I analyze it and I apply it to the songs I write." But there was also an element of mythology sprinkled throughout Steele's writing as well. His background was Icelandic and Russian, with him adding, "There's not too much written about Slavic mythology because there were so many tribes and they were so violent." The singles from Bloody Kisses, including Black Number 1 and Christian Woman, helped Type O Negative get their first real radio play of their career. But the members were soon at a crossroads. They were unsure if they wanted to pursue music full-time, as it meant spending long months on the road to help build sales of their albums while not having a steady day job to fall back on. With all of the band members unable to come to a common consensus of what to do, drummer Sal Abrascato left the group. He soon joined Life of Agony. If you guys are interested, I've actually done a whole video on this period of time in Life of Agony's career, A River Runs Red. The link is down below. Monty Connor from Type O Negative's label, Roadrunner, added, "Peter was content being a local hero and playing locally. He liked the security of a job and life, so he wasn't really ready to give all that up on a whim. In a way, that contributed to Sal leaving the band. When he left, Josh," referring to Josh Silver, "sent a load of pizza to Roadrunner's offices. It was his way of telling us he thought the band was through." But sometimes, as we all know in our own lives, you get opportunities that are so good, you just can't say no. And that's what happened to Type O Negative. First, they got an offer to open for Nine Inch Nails, who were fresh off the success of their album The Downward Spiral. They also managed to open for a newly revamped Motley Crue, who were touring with John Corabi behind their self-titled record. If you guys are interested, I've done a whole video on that record. The link is down below. With Abrascato out of the band, they enlisted drummer Johnny Kelly, who was long rumored to be Type O Negative's drum tech previously. In reality, he wasn't their full-time drum tech. He just helped out a few times, and even by his own admission, he wasn't a very good drum tech. Kelly told Louder Sound, "When Sal left, we all knew each other anyway, and I could literally walk to everyone's houses. So I found out, and the next day spoke to them to offer help. The band was always hanging on by a thread from the very beginning. Nobody knew if they'd carry on or just break up, as there was nothing to gain or lose at that point." The band spent a year and a half touring behind Bloody Kisses, and it was by June of 1995 they made history, becoming the first band in Roadrunner Records' history to have a gold album. Monty Connor told Louder Sound just how impactful Bloody Kisses was, admitting, That was the first record to go gold in Roadrunner's history. It was a dream come true. There was a 2-year period where Type O Negative took over from King Diamond as the biggest band on Roadrunner. For all the great records Roadrunner put out in the 90s, Machine Head, Fear Factory, whoever, I'll be most proud of working with Type O Negative on Bloody Kisses. But just because they had a gold record, the members were not rich by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Steele was pretty honest about the band's finances, admitting in 1996 there was no dignified way to make lots of money. You have to exploit yourself or someone else. I chose to exploit myself. People think I'm rich. I can barely make the $400 a month rent on my apartment in Brooklyn. In a separate interview, Steele admitted that he just wanted to have enough money to have his own little house and his pet wolves and any woman who would have him and spend the rest of her life with him. Type O Negative admitted they didn't like being frequently labeled as goth and metal, but they came up with the term gothadelica instead. That plus Steele's towering 6'8" frame and his notorious Playgirl magazine feature in 1995 started pulling in a bigger, more diverse crowd. But nobody was ready for what was about to happen next, except of course maybe the band itself. The mid-90s were a turning point for Peter Steele. In interviews, he talked about how he wasn't the same angry guy that he used to be. The success of Bloody Kisses proved that their unique style really worked and that it gave the band confidence to push their sound even further away from their origins. The band was listening to groups like My Bloody Valentine and Cocteau Twins, and Steele's lifelong love for the Beatles, which started showing up more in their songwriting. They made a clear decision to dial back their aggression and fully lean into the gothic, romantic, and sensual side of their music. Guitarist Kenny Hickey admitted to John Wiederhorn, Peter saw how many women he was getting after Bloody Kisses and the song Black Number 1, so he decided to design the band towards getting more chicks. October Rust was intentionally sensual just to get high heels in the door. It was a pimp record. He was with 2-3 different girls a day. It's a great record, but his goal in making it was to wrangle them up. This change was also marked by a new face in the band, drummer Johnny Kelly, who took Sal Abrascado's place. But in a twist that would define the album's sound, the band used a drum machine programmed by Josh Silver to get a more dreamy, ethereal feel. But even as work was ongoing for their follow-up album, October Rust, the band was lured away from the studio due to some pretty amazing touring offers with Sepultura and Ozzy Osbourne. It resulted with member and co-producer Josh Silver, a self-professed paranoid schizophrenic hermit, being on the phone in the hotel room on the road, telling the engineer how to finish the album. After leaving the studio before October Rust was completely finished, the band ended up with an album that felt more focused and unified compared to their previous releases. They deliberately stepped away from that humorous skits that had appeared on Bloody Kisses, as well as the provocative content that characterized both Carnivore and early Type O Negative material. Reflecting on these changes and the band's surprising success in 1996, Peter Steele told Jason Arnott that he no longer felt compelled to shock audiences, admitting, I really don't feel I deserve the success I've had. If there is a God, maybe she's smiling on me, or perhaps it's someone from below watching out for me. October Rust opens with a clever audio prank. The first track, Bad Ground, is simply 38 seconds of buzzing static, imitating the familiar hum of a loose speaker connection. Right after, listeners are greeted by a mock welcome from the band, thanking them for buying the album. While the joke might not have the same effect in today's age of streaming, back in 1996, the buzzing sound was a relatable nuisance for anyone using a home stereo. The band clearly enjoyed this playful approach, and they used a similar gag for their follow-up album 1999's World Coming Down. This time, though, they featured the unmistakable noise of a skipping CD. And the music is seriously deep. October Rust is a 73-minute journey. The first real song, Love You to Death, sets the tone for the whole ride. It's built on layers of lush keyboards, Kenny Hickey's ethereal guitar, and Steele's iconic booming bass. Over all of that, Steele's famous baritone delivers lyrics about gothic romance and the obsessive love that are both creepy and incredibly seductive. Harkening back to his childhood where he was always seeking validation from his deeply religious parents, Steele even took inspiration from the Pink Floyd lyric from the song Comfortably Numb. Be My Druidess is a mystical, sensual invitation, while Green Man explores pagan themes of nature and changing seasons, reflecting on life and death through the cycles of the natural world. Steele even remarked about the song, telling the Clarion Ledger, "When I first wrote the song, I wrote it about the Celtic embodiment of nature. But the thought occurred to me that when I worked for the Parks Department in New York City, these little kids at the playground used to call me the Green Man." Red Water, meanwhile, is a hauntingly beautiful song about loss inspired by the death of Steele's father that mixes holiday melodies with crushing sadness. Steele's father had passed away 1 year prior on Christmas Day. Songs such as Wolf Moon and My Girlfriend's Girlfriend highlighted Type O Negative's unique ability to mix dark, romantic themes with a sly sense of humor. My Girlfriend's Girlfriend details a polyamorous relationship with two women, with Steele admitting the song was actually based on a few true-life experiences, which turned out to be quite pleasant. These songs allowed Type O Negative to maintain their trademark wit while referencing their image as the Drab Four. The musical influences on October Rust were so varied, they even included artists Peter Steele later realized he didn't actually like. Johnny Kelly recalled on the song My Girlfriend's Girlfriend to Louder Sound, "When we started working on the song, Peter brought in a new riff to Josh's place. I immediately recognized it and said, 'That's War Machine by Kiss.' Peter, not being a Kiss fan, hadn't noticed. While he and Josh debated how to incorporate it, I drove to a record store, bought Creatures of the Night, and brought it back to show them. Peter realized the similarity and decided to speed up the tempo and add a surf beat to make it unique. Now, the finished song sounds nothing like War Machine, but at the time we were worried about copyright issues." Also, some surprises, including a cover of Neil Young's Cinnamon Girl, turning the classic rock song into a doomy gothic anthem, a move that keyboardist Josh Silver apparently wasn't a fan of, but he was outvoted by the band. Silver told the Waterloo Region Record that he had no clue Neil Young was Canadian, and he initially thought Neil Young was from California. Silver, in a separate interview, admitted to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that Type O Negative had already been playing Cinnamon Girl at their shows for about 1.5 years, adding, "We actually heard Neil Young play Cinnamon Girl live. I'm sure he'd be rolling if he heard ours." Well, funny thing is Neil Young did hear Type O Negative's cover, and here's what he had to say about it.
The first song you ever wrote, I'm talking about, have you ever heard Type O Negative's version of Cinnamon Girl?
No.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
It is one of my favorite songs.
Type O Negative.
You never heard of them?
I heard of them now. Great name.
They did a version. I'm so shocked. I would think.
You know,
are you
I
honored?
don't hear anything, Howard.
Where are you
very
sequestered?
little.
Where are you that you don't hear these things?
Yeah, I'm in my head. I'm missing a lot.
All right, I'm going to make your day now. Here's Type O Negative doing Cinnamon Girl. I'll play a little bit. I love this version, and I have it on. I listen.
Wow, the way they did that.
Listen to this. They came up with this arrangement. I can't believe you never heard this.
That's great.
Isn't that great?
I love it.
You do love it,
Yeah,
but you're
it's
laughing
great.
at it. I think you're
No,
smart.
I'm laughing with it.
You're
That was
enjoying it.
good. I was digging you singing it.
Oh.
I said, wow, that sounds one generation closer.
You should hear me do
And I
Old Man.
looked over there, and you were singing. You know the song perfectly. You know this exactly. You can clone this guy.
The album concludes with Haunted, a sprawling 10-minute track that encapsulates the record's somber, immersive atmosphere, drawing listeners deep into the unique world crafted by Type O Negative. Like all of the group's albums, October Rust credits the backing vocals to the Bensonhurst Lesbian Choir, which in reality was mostly just Peter Steele and occasionally some of his friends. Josh Silver admitted in an interview about the choir, "It's a fictitious creation. It's just something we put on the album because Peter doesn't like to admit that he can sing that high." Now, the whole recording process for October Rust was not tension-free. Kelly remarked how the song Be My Druidess resulted in a lot of tension between himself and Josh Silver. He told Louder Sound, "When I hear those tracks now, I remember the struggles we went through just to get the songs out to the fans." He added how October Rust represented the last time the band worked so well, adding, "October Rust caught Peter at his most prepared, which surprised me because we'd been on the road so much and never worked like that again. But here he knew exactly what he wanted, and that's how he got it done in 6 months. After that, it'd take 6 months just to think about getting together." Released on August 20th, 1996, October Rust marked the apex of Typo Negative's commercial prowess. It reached number 42 on the Billboard 200 and number 26 in the UK. The album became an instant classic, crystallizing Typo Negative and Peter Steele as goth metal icons. It eventually went gold, and the single My Girlfriend's Girlfriend became the band's first charting single of their career, peaking at number 156 on the UK chart. Its highest position, however, came in Finland at number 15. It also charted in Germany and Sweden. The single also featured a cover of the Black Sabbath song Black Sabbath, which was originally supposed to be on October Rust. It later ended up being on the Black Sabbath tribute album Nativity in Black. Ever mercurial, the band continued to experiment with their sound on subsequent releases. The album really connected with a generation of listeners. The crowds at their shows started to shift, with the original hardcore and metal fans now mixed in with goths in velvet dresses and what some called earthy girls. For many, October Rust is the definitive Typo Negative album, the moment they finally shed their past and became the band they were always meant to be. Through it all, Typo Negative never lost sight of the incredible artistry that made them one of the 90s most fascinating acts, unlikely stars, even in an era when misfits were regularly hailed as heroes. Steele, meanwhile, summed up how he felt while promoting October Rust, stating how he didn't want to die as a city park worker with a rake in his hand, adding, "I just wanted to take a chance. Some people like to go to Vegas to gamble. I like to get on a tour bus and gamble. That's my way of rolling dice, because if I lose, I'm going to lose everything." October Rust is more than just an album, it's a cultural touchstone. It was a bold artistic move from a band at the height of their creative game. Typo Negative took the raw, chaotic emotion of their early work and refined it into something majestic as well as timeless. They created a sound that was completely their own, a world of autumn sadness, dark romance, and sarcastic wit. In a year of musical chaos, Typo Negative didn't just find their voice, they used it to create a work of art that left a beautiful, if not permanent, scar on the face of music. And even today, that scar looks a lot like a masterpiece. That brings us to the end of today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on October Rust and what other videos you'd like me to do. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.